Hello, welcome to the News at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland. Tonight we go behind the scenes at Scotland's first drugs consumption room.
Okay, so we've been in here for less than half an hour, is that right? Half an hour? And there's already been a medical emergency.
We'll speak to the doctor in charge of alcohol and drug recovery services about the centre's first 3 months. Also tonight we'll look at the impact of the minimum wage going up.
It would have a massive impact on me because it would mean that I would be able to reduce the amount of hours that I work and I wouldn't have to be taking on so much overtime.
And we'll have all the sport with Lewis, of course. What have you got for us tonight, Lewis?
Well, Laura, we'll take a look at how things are shaping up in the race to secure the last 2 spots in the top 6 of the Premiership. And you won't believe another story we've got, a unique one about a defender scoring directly from a corner, not once, but twice.
And discovering the 55-year-old camera set up to catch the Loch Ness monster. Hello, I'm Laura McKeever. Welcome to the News at 7. Staff at the UK's only drugs consumption room say they believe it's saved lives since opening in Glasgow 3 months ago. The Thistle Centre allows users to take illegal drugs in a safer environment under medical supervision. However, some in the local community claim the centre is attracting more people to the area to use drugs and that there should be more investment in treatment options instead. BBC Scotland's Disclosure programme was given exclusive access to the facility earlier this month. And during the visit, 2 overdoses were reversed by staff who said 17 such incidents had occurred since January.
We're filming at the UK's first drug consumption room, the Thistle. Since it opened, more than 180 people have come here to inject cocaine and heroin.
Are you okay?
Shortly after we enter the using space, the alarm.
Okay, so we've been in here for less than half an hour, is that right? Half an hour? And there's already been a medical emergency.
We're moved from the lounge to the Thistle's reception as staff work to revive a user who's collapsed. And a short time after that, another alarm. Over our 2-day visit, we met James. He's been using the service since day one.
Before this was open, what were you doing to take drugs? Where were you going?
Car parks, to the side of the railway tracks, to forests, to anywhere where I could feel safe enough to do it without getting caught, you know.
That was our reporter Chris Clements there speaking with James. Well, with me now is Dr Sakit Priyadarshi, who's the Associate Medical Director for Alcohol and Drug Recovery Services at NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for coming in. So this update on the 3 months in, how would you say things are going at the centre?
Well, I think we've had a really strong and positive start. As weeks go by, we've had more and more people come to register and use the service. More and more injecting episodes are happening within the service and therefore not happening outside. So we've had about 1,500 injecting episodes almost inside, and those are 1,500 less needles and drug-related litter that's spread in car parks, alleyways, public places outside. And the people coming in are getting access to a whole range of services: housing, drug treatment, bloodborne virus, wound care. And crucially, as you just heard, there are a number of medical emergencies that have happened inside the service that the staff have been able to respond to positively and treat. And so we think we've already saved a number of lives. We've had a number of very sudden and severe overdoses. So although we've still got a long way to go to realise the full potential of the service, we've made a really positive start.
So you do believe lives have been saved. And what about that offer of sending people on to those other services as well that you talked about? Are people taking up that offer to get additional help?
Well, as you'll see from the disclosure programme tonight, one of our very first service users has now used the facility as a means to engage with a range of services again that he wasn't able to previously, and he's now made a significant journey into recovery, is no longer using the facility, is no longer using street drugs at all. So those stories are possible through the Thistle, but of course other people are in different stages in terms of their drug use and in terms of their recovery, and for them a roof over their head might be an early step into progress and improving the quality of their lives.
Yeah.
Some people may not even be ready to engage with any of the offers that we have at the moment, other than having a safer place to use their drugs than the outdoor places. And for them, we're there to engage, we're in there for the long term until they're ready to ask for their help. We continue to offer it, and when they're ready to engage, we will have a range of options available for them.
How is the relationship with the local community? Because there were some concerns before it opened, and others have been expressed since that it might perhaps attract users to the area. Do you feel that the relationship with the local community is what it could be at this stage?
So we've done a lot of work around community engagement. I myself have been involved in over a year's worth of meetings with large sections of the community in the Calton, and it's fair to say that a number of them do hold those views, but others actually welcome the service as an alternative to having drug use in their closes and their vineyards and in their playgrounds and outdoor spaces. And other people are maybe ambivalent and waiting to see, you know, how things work out. Okay. We've got a community engagement forum where we're listening to the community, responding to concerns that they arise, and our evaluation work will tell us whether the service has had a positive impact or not.
Dr. Priyadarshi, thank you so much for coming in tonight. I wish we had more time, but thank you.
Thanks for your interest.
And you can watch Disclosure, One More Fix. That's tonight at 9 o'clock on BBC One Scotland, and it's on BBC iPlayer now. Thank you for joining us on tonight's News at 7. More to come in the programme, including... We speak to the singer Becky Sakasa, who has just won BBC Scotland's Introducing Act.
It's a dry and sunny week of weather ahead. The start of the week is warm. Temperatures only really tailing off by the end of the week, but for most, it's looking fine. I'll have a full forecast later.
Now, workers in lower paid jobs will see an increase in their wages from tomorrow. People over 21 who get the national living wage will see their hourly rate go up from £11.44 to £12.21. And for those under 21 or an apprentice, the national minimum wage will increase from £8.60 an hour to £10. Alana Logue is a student and works between 20 and 35 hours per week. Here's what she had to say.
Considering the amount of hours I work already, it would have a massive impact on me because it would mean that I would be able to reduce the amount of hours that I work, and I wouldn't have to be taking on so much overtime, and that means I can kind of obviously focus more on my degree, but then also have a bit more of a social life. Like right now I feel I don't have that much of, as much of a social life as I could, as the average 20-year-old does, and that's because I'm working basically full time.
But some economists predict the increase could have an impact on the viability of some businesses. Tiffany Irvin runs a busy fish and chip restaurant in Largs in Ayrshire. She said she could be forced to increase prices for customers.
We're delighted for the young people of our team to get the wage increase, and they work hard for it and they deserve it. But along with all the additional overheads such as energy rises, the rises in all our local produce, everything that we buy in, it does make the margins a lot smaller, and it does put a lot of pressure on small businesses like ourselves to manage that without putting it onto the customer. It leaves really fine margins for small businesses.
So will raising the national and minimum wage help those struggling with rising costs and bills? Well, Lynn Anderson is the manager of Living Wage Scotland.
The rise in the minimum wage is extremely welcome. We absolutely welcome that increase for all categories of workers, and younger workers stand to benefit most from that increase. Statutory wage rates need to be higher. So yeah, the increase is good, but it still falls short from the real living wage, which is the only independently calculated rate to reflect what workers need. And that's the rate that we call for employers to pay.
Now, some in the business world, some economists as well, have expressed concern about the fact that employers are now having to pay more in national insurance contributions. They're now going to have to also take on this minimum wage rise as well, and that might end up being a disincentive to employ people. How do you respond to that?
It's a challenging context, isn't it, for lots of employers, for every employer. There's always going to be changes in that context that employers are operating in. There's always going to be pressures on budgets and decisions that need to be made. But it doesn't take away from the fact that workers need a decent wage to live, and that employers rely on those workers, you know, so it's not right that workers should be trapped in poverty and not able to meet their everyday needs while delivering what they can for their employer. The minimum wage is the minimum wage. It needs to be incorporated into the running costs of a business, and there's lots of creative things that employers can do with their teams to run things and save costs where they can, so that they're designing those jobs on good work principles. That's the important thing here.
So with the minimum wage then going up, for over 21s it's going up to £12.21, for under 21s up to £10. You are in favour of a living wage. What number, what figure, ideally, do you think people need to be earning to live well, to live properly?
The real living wage is an hourly rate that's calculated using all the best available evidence on living costs, and that's currently set at £12.60 per hour for workers in the UK, with a higher rate in London of £13.15. The real living wage is a fair starting point of the figure that employers should consider when they're thinking about setting wage rates. Do
you feel it's coming closer though, especially with this rise in the minimum wage? Do you think that living wage, things are closing in and it's perhaps something that is more attainable?
That's a really good question, because the real living wage is calculated looking at all of the costs that workers have, and what rate is required for people to live a decent life. You know, in terms of what the minimum wage rate should be set at, the government has a job to do on setting that rate based on, you know, they have control over social security and taxes alongside wage rates. So it's a different process that a government would need to go through in terms of determining what that figure should be. But our figure, the real living wage figure that's independently calculated, is to reflect what workers need that employers choose to pay.
Lynn Anderson there from Living Wage Scotland. Right, let's get a roundup now of the stories making the BBC News app in Scotland. And a woman who beat a man to death with a kettle has been jailed for a minimum of 18 years. Elizabeth Ann Sweeney murdered 49-year-old Neil Jolly in Aberdeen in June 2023. US President Donald Trump has labelled people accused of vandalising the Trump Turnberry golf resort as terrorists. A man's appeared at private at Ayr Sheriff Court today in connection with the incident. Workers at Aberdeen City Council have voted to back strike action to oppose a fire and rehire policy. The council says it won't consider dismissal and re-engagement without exhausting all other routes. And Roscoe McClellan's won this year's Sir Billy Connolly Spirit of Glasgow Award at the city's Comedy Festival. The Glaswegian comic received a special video message from Sir Billy as he picked it up. And for more information on all of these stories, you can scan the QR code there in the screen for you now. It will take you to the BBC Scotland News app, where there's more there for you, including the opening of the new Cross Tay Link Road, which runs from west of the A9 and joins with the A93 and A94 north of Scone. Now, where a full timetable has resumed after 2 months of extremely limited ferry service to the island. But islanders are still questioning why they were left dealing with disruption. A single mum has told the BBC of her stressful and upsetting experience getting her children to a mainland hospital appointment after she couldn't get her family on the ferry due to technical problems. Ellen Beaton has the story.
Travelling with 4 children can be stressful enough. But getting her youngest to hospital last week was an ordeal for islander and single mum Carol Ann.
His hands were bound in bandages for 2 weeks. So we were coming down to obviously see his consultant, and initially it was supposed to be me and Kieran, but our plans changed. So I went to go and book the other 3 children on the ferry, but due to the reduced capacity, they said that I couldn't get them booked on. It's stressful, upsetting, and really overwhelming, because you just don't know what to do. You're like in a situation that you've never come across before, picking what child to leave.
8-year-old Christopher and his granny had to book an expensive flight and meet the rest of the family over in Glasgow. Apart from the money, this has had an emotional cost as well.
You're going to feel like totally mum guilt That's what it's going to be. That's like what it boils down to. It's like you're guilty as a mum because you feel that you've failed and not been able to take your children away. But it's through no fault of mine, it's CalMac.
CalMac says that there was no risk that the hospital appointment would be missed because Carol Ann and Kieran were booked on with a medical priority. CalMac also said that an alternative route was offered, one that would have the family drive 350 miles, catch 2 ferries and take at least 12 hours. The Scottish Government calls CalMac routes a lifeline service, but islanders question whether that's really what they're getting.
Over the last 2 months, CalMac have failed to provide lifeline services to the island. What I look as a business owner to say is services are being paid for, but they're not being delivered. So there must be some sort of contractual obligation to provide a minimum service. What is that minimum service? It surely has to be passenger provision.
This should never, ever, ever happen again. We have heard stories of people missing family occasions, funerals. This is a health appointment. All those things are crucial.
But for Carol Ann and families like hers, today there comes good news. The original ferry is coming back into service 4 weeks later than planned.
So maybe going home might be a wee bit easier. Hopefully.
Ellen Beaton, reporting Scotland.
Now, an underwater camera set up 55 years ago to try to photograph the Loch Ness Monster has been found by accident by a robot submarine. The vessel, Boaty McBoatface, was undergoing trials when its propeller snagged in the mooring for the camera system. Our reporter Chris McLennan has the story.
It's a place full of history and mystery, and now we could be about to get a picture of the past. A camera lost in a search of the loch back in 1970 has re-emerged by chance after getting caught in the propeller of an underwater robot. And this is the camera. It's encased in its underwater housing and was connected to a bait line. When that was pulled, it would trigger taking a photo. Remarkably, the camera and the film remain intact, sparking the question, what's on the film?
I think this is wonderful, and it's one of those examples of a mixture of sophistication and improvisation that characterised those halcyon days of the 1960s and 70s. It's really wonderful to look at the condition of the camera. It's perfectly dry, photographs have been taken, and I've not seen them yet.
For the team recovering the sub, they got a little more than they bargained for.
Fortunately, during the recovery of the robot, we managed to recover the camera system as well. So we have then taken that back to our base in Southampton. The film has been developed and we have now brought it back up here to go to the Loch Ness Centre.
So, did the loch reveal any of its secrets?
At this moment in time, we haven't found Nessie, but I imagine we'll continue working here and we'll keep our eyes open.
Now in the care of the Loch Ness Centre, the camera will enjoy a new life above the water.
It's nice to see what the history is. It brings people to the area, and it's also nice to tell everybody about what was here, the loch and how it all works and everything, the science, the history, and also the stories, the myths and legends behind it.
With no conclusive evidence of the Loch Ness Monster, it seems the search for Nessie continues. Chris McLennan, reporting Scotland, Loch Ness.
Yeah, it certainly continues. Right, still to come, we have the weather with Christopher. But first, let's get some sport with Lewis.
Thank you very much, Laura. Hello there. Well, the race is on to clinch one of the 2 remaining top 6 spots in the Premiership, with 2 rounds of fixtures left before the league splits. Dundee United, Hearts, St Mirren, Motherwell and Ross County all vying for 5th and 6th place. One man who's played for a few of those clubs is John Sutton, the Englishman. Had a couple of stints at St Mirren. He spent 5 years at Motherwell and had a couple of seasons at Hearts too. He spoke to Kenny Crawford and believes Dundee United still have a lot of work to do going to Gorgie next.
You never know. A trip to Hearts is always tricky. Tynecastle is a tough place to go. Brilliant atmosphere. If you're a Hearts player, you've got to fancy yourself at home against anyone. It's going to be dramatic. I would imagine if you're a Hearts player, you're probably thinking you're going to get there.
Another one of your former clubs, St Mirren, you had a couple of successful stints there. They're flying after a 5-1 win
against Kilmarnock at the weekend, and trying to get top 6 for the 3rd season in a row, that's quite something, isn't it?
It's very, very good. It doesn't surprise me. With the manager they've got, Stephen Robinson, and they look a very stable club, and they look to be going in a very positive direction.
Motherwell, they had a sore defeat at the weekend to Aberdeen, losing 4-1 up at Pittodrie after being 1-0 up. Do you think Wimmer can get them firing again to do what they need to do to try and get in there?
I hope so. He's only been in the job a very short time. I think it's a very, very tricky ask. I think if they get into the top 6, that'll be a huge bonus for them.
At the moment, Dundee United in 5th, Hearts in 6th. How do you think it's going to be after the next 2 rounds of fixtures?
I think Dundee United will probably do it. It's a bit of a toss-up. I think Stephen Robinson's team will just about get there. I think they're well organised, well drilled, got plenty of pace up front, and I'm hoping that they're going to win the next 2 and just get over the line.
I'm sure Stephen Robinson will be pleased to hear you say that. John, let's see what happens. Thanks very much for chatting to us.
Okay, to rugby now. And Glasgow Warriors record try scorer George Horne has signed a new contract to extend his 9-year stay at Scotstoun for what the club's describing as the foreseeable future. Horne broke DTH van der Merwe's try-scoring record for the club in a 42-0 win over Emirates Lions at Scotstoun on Saturday evening, crossing the line for his 55th score in Warriors colours. But the Scotland international was quick to credit the role played by his teammates.
The backs showed some amazing handling to square up their defence, and then Jamie Dobie on the wing made about his 5th line break of the night, and I was just kind of running that little inside support line and managed to pick up the offload, and I only had to trot in from about 15 metres, so it was a nice moment. To catch D and to see him last week, DTH was over for their reunion. It was cool catching up with all those guys, and again they were just like so happy for me, and yeah, it was cool. The boys, they all got around me after the try, and just shows we're a tight bunch here and we get on really well. So yeah, it was a nice moment. Yeah, so just signed up for another couple of years here, and really proud to represent Glasgow, the club and the city as well, and obviously delighted to be staying on. It's a club I've played my whole professional career at. Love being part of it. The boys, the backroom staff, everyone involved with the club. It's a great place to come into work every day. And yeah, like obviously coming off the back of last year, we're in a pretty good place, but we're desperate to achieve more. So it's an exciting club to be a part of at the moment, and yeah, I can't wait to see what the rest of this year and the next couple of years has in store.
And finally, I think you'll enjoy this one. As anyone who's played golf in Ayrshire will know, the best players use the blustery wind conditions to their advantage. Well, one player at Troon FC figured out the same goes for football. Troon were trailing rivals Largs Thistle 2-1 at the weekend and were in need of inspiration. So step forward Luke Watt, who made use of the wind to score directly from a corner, not once, but twice. He explained to me earlier that his goals were no flukes.
Straight off the bat, the wind was against us, so it wasn't necessarily like conducive to a good game of football, but obviously conducive to some nice corners. All in all, I took 4 corners in the second half. The first one was like just missed the back post. It was just I put too much on it. The second one, I think it cleared at the front post. We got the corner in late 70th minute. That obviously went in to equalise. It was the 87th minute on the second corner. I don't think I'd kind of fully grasped what had happened and what I'd done until I actually had a time to think about it, and I was like, it's pretty remarkable to do it once, but then to do it twice in a game, it was just surreal. It's not after the game as well. Like everyone was just laughing. It wasn't like because no one's expecting it, and it wasn't like a well done. It was more like what just happened.
Brilliant stuff, and we have plenty more over on the BBC Sports Scotland website too. You can hear Caroline Weir's hopes ahead of Scotland's Women's Nations League A match against Germany at Tannadice on Friday, and get the latest fans' views on their Premiership teams too. So yeah, quite a brilliant story there. I don't think we'll be seeing anyone like that again for a while.
Glad the dismal Scottish weather can help sometimes rather than hinder. Thanks, Lewis.
Thanks, Laura.
Right, some entertainment news now. And Becky Sakasa has scooped this year's BBC Introducing Act of the Year prize. The decision was made by an expert judging panel. Part of the prize includes 2 professional recording sessions with BBC Radio Scotland, a coveted slot at Transmit, and a bespoke PR campaign to help elevate their career. Our entertainment reporter Frankie Allen spoke to Becky about what it was like to win.
And the winner is Becky Sakasa.
Felt quite surreal, to be honest. Even now, it's not quite sunk in. It's, yeah, pretty unreal.
And what has this recognition meant for you and your music career so far?
Being recognised by the BBC with this award is so special to me. I think, I don't know if you know this about me, but I actually grew up in Germany. So being welcomed into the Scottish music scene the way that I have, the way I felt welcomed with open arms, and just the scene is so wholesome and it's quite small, but everyone is so well-meaning and so sweet with each other, and I feel like that's so special to be then recognized by a community like that. So yeah, I just feel really, really grateful.
There's gotta be something out there. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. Drown out the noise from the outside. I can feel a magic with the weight on my mind.
And BBC Introducing, it has supported a lot of artists on their way up. How do you feel like it's helped you develop as an artist?
So much. Just being able to do little radio interviews and little radio performances as well. It's such a gift to be able to kind of slowly dip your toes in, rather than, I don't know, never have any touch with that and then suddenly be thrown into a situation like that. So yeah, it's been really nice kind of slowly getting to experience those things.
And what do you think the next steps are after winning this competition?
I'm really excited to just play Transmit Festival. I'm really excited to do a session with my band at the radio. I'm really, really buzzing for that as well.
Becky Sakasa there speaking to Frankie Allen. Right, it is weather time now, and Christopher's here. We've had some lovely sunshine today.
Yes, and there's a lot more sunshine to come, actually, Laura, with temperatures climbing. Let me show you some of the pictures that have come into us.
Got a happy dog behind you.
My favourite one today, this little chap down at Portobello Beach there, under the sunshine and blue sky. One or two light showers in the northwest with one or two rainbows. Not much rain in the forecast, though. Lots of sunshine and spring flowers around. And more sunshine to come. Let's take a look at what's happening, because it's all thanks to high pressure. And let me show you the chart. It's been, if I can, maybe I can't, but we've got high pressure with us throughout the course of this week, and that will afford us a lot of dry and fine weather with some sunshine around, and we're dragging in some pretty warm air off the near continent. So with that increasingly strong sunshine, temperatures will climb through the course of the week. By the end of the week, we start to see that high pressure move towards the northwest, and whilst that means it will remain dry, actually the temperatures will come down. However, through probably the next 10 days or so, high pressure is very much in charge. First thing tomorrow, and it's a dry start with some sunshine around. Bit of mist and fog first thing, that'll tend to lift. Temperatures at 8 a.m. around about 8 degrees. A little bit of cloud towards the east coast, a breeze coming off a cold North Sea, giving a cool feel. But for most, it's a fine start to the day, and it stays fine throughout the course of Tuesday. In fact, almost gin clear skies for many parts of the country, and temperatures responding. So this is the 1st of April, and temperatures in places 18 or 19 degrees. Beyond tomorrow into Wednesday, in fact, this is true also for Thursday. That high pressure to our east, and we're dragging in some warm air off the near continent. So whilst it will be a cool start, some mist and fog around, through the course of the day, that sunshine will allow temperatures, certainly through central and western parts, mid to high teens, always that bit cooler towards the east coast, with a breeze arriving off the sea. So this is Thursday. Once again, you can see exactly what I mean. It's dry and fine, a bit of high cloud here and there, but for most, pretty decent. By the end of the week, that high pressure is now towards our north, and we've changed the wind direction to a north-northeasterly, coming over a cold sea. So 5 or 6 degrees is the sea surface temperature, and that will mean temperatures for us coming down, a bit more in the way of cloud arriving as well. Still some sunshine in the west and southwest, and it's a similar picture as we head through towards Saturday. A bit more cloud coming in on that north-northeast breeze too. For most, though, it's dry and fine.
Wonderful, Chris. Thank you. And we will see you tomorrow night at 7. Bye-bye.